Yeah, so that's a really, really good point. By the way, welcome everybody to Design Kitchen, where we're here to provide inspiration for innovation. Um, and right now, we were just talking about the job market as engineers, especially some students that are coming out of school, or maybe a lot of people are having job transitions right now. And so we were just talking about a scenario about how um I guess some employees, or I guess, do you want to kick it off with your story first, or do you want me to kind of comment on my feedback, or you know throw out?
Yeah, so I was just talking about, like, I went to an interview, and I was I was talking to a person. He was kind of like the guy who would kind of make the decision, and I would be working with him. But then there were more executive, like management and executive roles in the room as well. So he was, they were less convinced and it was like the job description and then the questions they were asking didn't so much match. I think it seemed like maybe it was like a somewhat rushed to try to get this the position filled. I know they did actually end up having lots of applicants though, so that's the lots of competition. It's in a location where there's very few engineering jobs. So I don't know how many there probably aren't that many people that are looking for work, but when there's an opportunity that comes up, there's very few.
Yeah, see, that's because that's one thing I've been noticing, especially in the last couple months. I have recruiters just literally, reaching out. And one of the things was from the book, Disrupting You. He talks about how now the job market is, I'm not sure if it's in that book or if it was in one of the podcasts, but he talks about how, like, the job market now, it's so easy to just hire someone remote. So for
Mhm.
example, like, if you wanted to move, for myself, I've looked at a couple of jobs more in the sales side. So a lot of them, they just require you to be within a certain distance of the airport. So I have like LAX, but basically there's no need for you to even go in. Everything's completely remote.
Mhm.
And but along with that, I've had a job, or two things actually. One of them, I had a job interview before, um, where I jumped on. It was for like a regional sales manager position for it was like electronic devices, right? But for the most part, it was mainly like a sales type of position. But I jumped in, and the VP or manager, whatever he was, he started drilling me on all these like electrical, highly like super technical electrical questions. And I was like, well, my background is mechanical. He's like, well, he started getting super, super technical. And I was like, like, what are you talking about? That was not in the description. That had nothing to do with the job that I applied for. And then this guy, just to add like insult to injury, he's like, well, sell me something, like pick something from your desk around you and sell me something. And I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? I feel like and then this was like right before, I guess, more prior, pre-COVID type of thing, where I feel a lot of these engineering jobs, these managers, they thought that they could kind of bully you and basically dangle this job in front of you. Um, and I think that was the culture of jobs back then. I don't know if you ever noticed that in some of your careers and trying to look for employment.
Yeah, so and where they just kind of hold it. They know that they have something you want, so they can kind of.
Yeah.
I think it's fair that a recruiter or like an interviewer would challenge a potential candidate because they want to see how that person responds. And like my experience and kind of a opinion, even actually being on that interviewer side of it,
Mhm.
is sometimes they'll ask questions that are more challenging than what they even expect you to know, but they just want to see how you react. So you might get like, if there was, let's say hypothetically, if there was some kind of a grade that they were going to give you at the end
Hmm.
based on the questions they ask you, they might ask you questions where that are challenging enough that they only expect you to get maybe a 50% grade,
Yeah.
right? So um so that way they know, they want to make sure that they understand where's your limit, because if they ask you questions and you nail every single one of them, they haven't found your limit yet. Maybe if you answer and you nail every single question,
Hmm.
maybe you're overqualified. They want to understand where you fall in that range, and I, like, that would be kind of my how I would feel about that. But
Mm.
yeah, so
Cause see, I guess what I noticed, with that guy, for example, I got mad because he was trying to act a certain way. And I'm like, well, I think your job description is completely wrong. And, you're not looking for the right kind of people. And I think like one example of like, I guess stepping out and starting my own company and like thinking like maybe if I had to go back to work, um this whole like manager and hierarchy role kind of lost meaning to me, where I'm just kind of coming in there like, oh hey, what's up buddy, you're like one of my regular friends, manager sir.
I totally agree with that, and I think that's a good way to approach it. I like, for me, I go in and I don't. I like to think anyway that I don't really get nervous around executives or
Yeah.
um, people who are interviewing me, and I'm just there. And I know that I have my weaknesses when it comes to interviewing, and I wouldn't even don't even claim to be good at being in like an interviewee, but it's I know that in the end, they're just people, right? Everybody's just people. So I don't really care like what's your title, what kind of initials you have after your name, any of that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Like I respect that, but I'm not intimidated by that.
Exactly.
And like, say if I walk up to the president of some big company or president of the US,
Hmm.
if I get the opportunity where it's if the opportunity is presented to me, I'll walk up and shake their hand and not be like, oh, kind of like, oh, I should, kind of be so
Yeah.
intimidated. And it's, I don't think there's any reason to do that. I mean, I do understand where some people do get intimidated by authority, but I think you should, there's respect and then there's intimidation, which are kind
Mhm.
of, they're different. And I think like I respect them, but I'm also not intimidated by it. So
Yeah, and I feel that that's the culture in the hierarchy, like you have your manager and that manager is terrified of like the VP or somebody up there. It's like, um I guess I just hate like corporate culture in general, because there's always like the CEOs and the VPs. I feel like every decision they make, it's really just to conserve their jobs and look good for their boss in a sense. But to add to what you just said, I feel when I was younger, earlier on, I was pretty bad at interviews, where I did take it as this big deal. And I think that, if I had a takeaway where I can, give that advice back to my younger self or someone who's just graduating, one of the things would be to just not care at all. Um, Especially now, like I said, I feel like there's so many jobs that laid off people, that now they're like scurrying to either add employees or they want to go into like an expansion cycle, and where jobs are now kind of like begging people to start working for them again. um so even if they're not, I think always going in with that scarcity mindset and like knowing your value. Along with that too is like, if you just Google the stereotypical interview questions, and basically make a little script for yourself, and just having that in the back of your mind ready, that in itself has been a huge thing. I mean, I know that's what I do for like sales calls or my scripts or anything. So why not have it for interviewing, where I think now, assuming it's like a good fit for the job, I've gotten pretty good at it, just from failing so many times.
yeah, I know. And in the end, you do need to be like a good fit. Like for me to go and interview for a barista, right? I would be like, oh, I don't know, I've never done that before. I don't know,
Americano.
but right, like I've never done that before. I can't. There's nothing I can tell you that I can figure it out. I can guarantee you that, right? That's the one thing, and to anybody. But at the same time,
Mhm.
it's most companies are looking for somebody who can hit the ground running, and I can learn fast. But the only way I can do that, like maybe I can work for cheap or work for a week. Just let me show you what I can do, and there's
Yeah,
a lot of ways to do that, but to get a position.
because one of the things too, like I know for some people like negotiating salary, they're like, oh, I don't want to give them a number, but blah blah blah. Usually it's like I do this funny one where I'll like ask what I want. I'm like, well, I was looking for a little more, but I'll take within this and this, because I'm sure that when I start, you're gonna see my value. And within a first couple weeks, I'm sure there's gonna be reviews where I'm gonna earn my salary and a lot more.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, well, I'll take this thing that I want, but I guarantee you that I'm gonna be a value to your company. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, so I was working on my design. I don't. Did you have time to work on yours?
I did work on it a little bit. Actually, when I sit down and work on it right after this call. So what I've just started working on the individual components and kind of starting with high level design of individual components. I've been honestly, like I hate saying it because it sounds just like I'm making excuses, but I have been like I've just been super busy, but I have made some progress, not nearly as much as I would have liked to make, but yeah, I have. So yeah, plugging along and so we'll
Yeah.
get there.
So I'm thinking about it, right? I overthought it to the point where I realized it might be kind of useless to do. Um, so I mean, my phone's like updating, but I sent you those couple screenshots, right? It kind of got the job done. It was like a little slider thing, it would have like a squeegee here and two little tires. So as it's rolling, it's dispensing fluid all along, right? And then I was thinking like, well, I kept reading Disrupting You, and I was thinking about it. Well, what other parts of the value chain can I disrupt, the supply chain? And in this matter, I'm like, well, what if the container itself already had a built-in squeegee and the two little tires in the tube? So it's almost just like a strip that you take off, and then it's like a plastic injected container with the squeegee pre-built in it, and then you can use it to glide across the each individual gym bench, and they could just be like a cheap little magnet. You pull it off and you just do it, right? And I'm like, oh, that's genius. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, what's stopping them from just go buying the little spray bottle with the squeegee attachment to it and just attaching one themselves? They just literally don't do it. So then I kind of circular logic myself into thinking that this is pretty useless.
Ends up being like not so much of a
Innovate.
disruptive idea, right?
Yeah,
But
yes.
yeah, okay.
But that was, I mean, that was a good catch, because I could have
Yeah.
jumped on it. I mean, worst case, I spent a couple hours on the design and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the update on mine. Did you have
Okay.
any other ideas for the week?
I did. So, and this is something again, like many of my ideas, I don't actually even take time to sit down and look it up, research anything. But I know that this exists to some level, but I don't think it does to the level that I am, thinking of. So I was fishing well, last weekend I was in Colorado, and then the
Oh,
weekend
so
before
that's
that,
where
yeah, that's where I went. So I went and visited my brother in Colorado. I haven't seen him in probably 3 years or something. So I had
oh,
to go see him and show him my wife, and he never met my wife and or the baby, of course the baby,
nice,
because
nice.
the baby's only 2.5 months now. So yeah, so we flew down there, late Wednesday night. We came back Saturday night, so we were just for a few days.
Hmm.
That was really nice. The weekend before that, though, I was fishing out on the Columbia River, which is right near where I live, and it's the river that splits Washington and Oregon for much of the length of the
Gotcha.
states.
Hmm.
Um, and so there were three of us on this boat, about a 16-foot boat, and every time a boat would drive by, the waves would rock the boat, right? And you're sitting there, and it's like this boat's maybe 6 feet wide at the beam, and you start a wave hits you, and you're just rocking back and forth. Well, there was this one person was in the front of the boat. He was right up in the bow, and he would stand up on this platform, and like because they had kind of a platform up on the bow,
Hmm.
and anytime a wave would hit, he would stand up, and he would like as the wave came in from one side, he would push his pressure down on that side to kind of level out the boat,
Counter.
and then he kept like countering the waves, and it
Oh,
went from like waves hitting us like this to nothing. Like I would barely move,
like
right?
a counter gyroscope.
It just completely counteracted the waves, and just from the weight of one person doing this on a like a 16, I think this would work on a smaller boat. It completely counteracted the effect of the waves, and it was amazing. Like it made it so much more comfortable. Of course, for him, he was just having fun. He got a bit of exercise out of it. Every time a wave would come by, he'd get up, and some of these waves were huge. Some of these waves were, well, huge compared to a little 16-foot boat, maybe
Hmm.
a 3 foot tall wave from the yachts that would drive by, and
Yeah.
he was able to counteract that by probably up to 80%, I would say, something. So it was significant. So if you could have something that could counteract the effect of waves, that
Yeah.
would fit on a smaller boat.
Hmm.
So they do have it for large boats. Now, like a boat that goes out in the ocean, they do have it. And I don't know at some point you get a big ship or a cruise ship or something. They're just big enough. They don't need it. But then you get down to like I don't know, maybe a 40-foot long boat out in the ocean, and things like a bobber just bobbing around out there. But they have counteracting like kind of systems, but I think those need to be built in. Like from what little I've seen, this would be worth kind of looking into. But um, so those are like big built in, and pretty good. It's not something that you're just going to go to the boat store and buy one and mount it into your own boat. So now I think, what if you could have a small one that you could mount in your own 16-foot boat?
Hmm. That's what I was thinking, for that to work, would it have to be centralized on the center of gravity on the boat? Or would it have to be one on each edge to kind of counteract? I'm not sure how the buoyancy would work on that. But
So
oh,
yeah,
I was just thinking, if it's some kind of like cylinder where it has like a maybe like a pendulum type of thing, and it's just shifting the momentum opposite of the wave force.
hmm yeah. So something like that, or a use gyroscopic force, because the problem with using something big,
Uh-huh.
big and heavy, as in like the passenger on the boat, he was like putting all of his weight. Now that's 180 pounds of extra weight. Like say a 16-foot boat has a weight limit. This boat had a 160-pound maybe weight limit or something. So add up people and gear. Well, if you add a 200-pound device, that cuts down one passenger. So
Hmm.
what you want to do is try to minimize that weight. So a gyroscopic force is, if you take a bike tire and you spin it and get it spinning really fast and kind of hold on to the axle and try to oppose that motion,
Hmm.
you use that force. So that tire, it doesn't need to weigh 200 pounds. You
Yes.
just get that motion, and you're using the acceleration to
Uh-huh.
create your opposing force.
That makes sense. I mean, that'd be interesting looking into that.
Mhm.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean that would be probably like a quick little prototype that you could put together.
Yeah, and that would be something like, even if you could cut back on 40% of the effect of the waves, right? It's going to make it a lot more comfortable, especially for the people who are like guided fishing or charter, some kind of people who aren't used to being on the water and they're going on a boat. They
Yeah,
wanted to be as comfortable as they can.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like a fisherman who goes out all the time, he doesn't care. But of course, it would be nice to have it a little bit less wavy, but whatever. And
yeah,
then, so still, I think the problem that you're going to have is making this thing universal is how to securely attach it to a boat. Because if you have a thin walled boat, like a lot of boats, the material is pretty thin. So if you bolted through that, you
mm,
don't want to rip those bolts out, right? So I mean, there's some design to be done, but it could be done. And then it may not be something that could be done at home. It might be something that needs to be installed by a specialist of some kind,
yeah.
but as long as it can be attached to almost any boat,
Mm.
that's okay.
Well,
So that, you know,
yeah, well, I mean, I was even just thinking like proof of concept on the same little platform that the guy was standing on, just like literally just putting it on there and clamping it to it, and just seeing what that does.
that would be interesting to see. Yeah. So, and what you would do is you would just have to have like get a little programmed board. You could run it off of an Arduino or something, or um, program this thing and give it some form of like, I don't know what you accelerometer, or like I don't know what the instrument would be that measures, like kind of like a plumb bob, of sorts, that knows which way is vertical,
Yeah.
and it just reacts according to that.
Hmm.
So a couple of servo motors, a little Arduino, and
Just like
some
something to
sensors.
predict, yeah, to
Mhm.
invert or counteract the wave.
Yeah, and this counteracts waves that come to the side of the boat and make you rock back and forth, but
Mhm.
not so much waves that would come to the front of the boat and make the whole boat like, get this, not this kind of motion. It's only the side to side
Yeah,
motion, right?
just like
But that's the side to side is the kind of annoying one.
yeah, yeah. Gotcha. I mean, that'd be cool. I don't
Hmm.
know too much about the industry, but I think that would be doable. So I found the
Yeah.
little thing I had made, right?
Oh yeah.
That little blue, that was like this spiral type of thing and these little wheels. So
Hmm.
when you swiped it across the gym equipment, it was meant to basically dispense the fluid and squeegee across the top. But and then we discussed, I think you mentioned potentially adding like a little side scooper to also just run it over the handlebar of the dumbbells.
Hmm.
And the little brush would clean it, and it could have like a dispensing wheel there too. But yeah, I feel like that already exists at some like level.
Yeah. Maybe it would be something as simple as like buy find a squeegee that would work for this application, like just a quick handheld simple basic squeegee, right? You go on Alibaba and you buy 1,000 of them for 3 cents each or whatever,
Mhm.
and then you get a bottle, the same thing, just a generic bottle. You put a label on it,
Mhm.
wrap them with a label, print on them, and just make say that they are for, this is what these are for. Really, you just took
It's
any old
private
squeegee in a
label.
spray bottle, and you give them instructions, say fill this thing with a disinfectant, and
Mhm.
then you spray your bench and squeegee it off. You didn't invent anything. You just labeled them. You just bought a whole bunch of them, put your own label on them. So
Make them like disposable too, so that they can't open the chamber, so they have to like just throw them away and buy a new one each time.
yeah. Or you could just make them super cheap. I mean, if you throw them up on some kind of, on Amazon or some kind of site, and you sell them for $10 each.
Yeah,
For $10 each or $5 each, it's not like you sell the squeegee and spray bottle combo. And
yeah, I can see they have some pretty nice ones. You
oh
know,
yeah,
and those are already like $12. That red one is like $6.
yeah.
But it would just need to be packaged in a way. Um, I mean, they even have these with the built-in towel already, like a felt towel.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, so it has like a spray bottle and built-in like towel, squeegee, everything's right, just like
mhm,
that.
yeah,
So,
so
so if you took those, find and just buy a bunch of those, put a label on it that says like some kind of label that looks like gym equipment, or is that what that's for? Is it made for gym
no,
equipment or is it
there's window
generic?
cleaners, toilet cleaners,
Yeah.
glass
Okay.
cleaners. Um,
Get that and work with a just somebody who can print out a label, kind of like I'm just either printing directly on it or like what you'd see on any kind of a spray bottle. They're just like soda bottle, maybe 20-ounce soda bottle, kind of
yeah,
the wrapper.
cause see, all I would want, I would want to flip it. Cause let's say this is the squeegee and then this is the handle. This is like if especially if you're using it for the gym, this is a fracture point. But if I can make the bottle horizontal, I mean yeah, parallel with the squeegee. So you have the button here and you could just like squeeze it and then just run it through.
Mhm.
It's a lot more compact. I can have the tube, basically just almost like that same hand sanitizer tube that I had before. See if I can find it real quick. I
Yeah.
just tossed it down. But yeah, it's almost like we just went circular motion, but in circles. But it's like almost like if I had this with the squeegee attached to it, and this could either be here or it could be here, and I just run it through. So I mean, if I could even contact this company here and figure out a way to have them attach a squeegee to their bottles and package private label this package as like a so I can actually get the squeegee and do like a 3D, just a 3D print to wrap around this bottle as like a clip.
It could just be a clip. You buy the two things separately and you just clip them together. Have the
I
have the
do
spray
private.
bottle company make sure they label it with for you, which is easy. It's totally easy. Like that's what there's thousands of companies out there doing specifically that.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah, okay. So and you're saying just keep the spray bottle like that. So you spray it first and then you flip it and then squeegee it off.
well, yeah, I mean, you don't even,
Yeah.
it'll be like a system in itself, you just, because that way it's a very modular, like the squeegee will literally just, like have clips,
Yeah.
you know, because I mean, I don't even want to deal with doing any slots or any modifications, that
No.
we have the molds.
Yeah.
Literally, I would put like a nice low profile, some kind of silver aluminum cap
Hmm.
here, and then just clip on the squeegee if I want to start getting, but yeah, I mean, I could just literally press the side and then just squeegee it off and then go market it to all the gyms in that
Yeah.
form without having to do any design or anything. I mean, I'm like 1,000% sure that I could probably private label this online somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally think you could.
It's not like $1 billion, $1 million idea, but I mean, that in itself, yeah, I mean, I could see that working.
Yeah. And pretty as far as effort going into it, it's not that much. Right. Well, there's of course there is a lot overall, but like with any product, but to get it made, it's already designed for you. Kind of a lot of it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because I could see myself going into every gym and just be like, hey, look, we came up with these. You can
Yeah.
have an attached magnet that pops onto your machine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mess with this idea. I was about to drop it, but you got a good point.
Try to
Um,
make it more simple and cheap. Like, because
yeah,
that thing right there, right, how much does that bottle right there cost?
or
Like
like
a couple bucks.
hands.
Yeah. So like you could see that's the thing is if you sell
Dollar
them in a
cost.
package, sell them in a crate, like you sell a box of 100 of these things to a gym or 500 of them or something,
Mhm.
you sell them in quantities like that. That's
Totally.
how you move product. You move them in big boxes. Don't just sell one at a time. You could, of course, you could sell them one at a time online or something, but sell big boxes of
Or
them
even then
for cheap.
fulfilled by Amazon will eat
Yeah.
up. I'm just curious on the patenting of it, because it's not real. No one's really using it for this, and no one's really thought about it. I mean, I could literally just clip that thing on. You know, I might have to spend some money on tooling.
I do think you should do the magnet thing too.
Yeah, and stick on I mean, it's like a glue magnet, you know, and then I'll provide my own cleaner. I can probably, you know, private label that too.
Mhm.
We will see. I'm gonna do some more research on this, but we have that was a pretty good plan. The other one that I thought of, I'm not sure. Um, I guess I was about to drop this one, but my idea, this one's not very technical, but it is. So I have like a big NLP background, and I'm like, you know, I've done like coaching and stuff like that, more for like relationships or like just personal mindset type of thing. So what I was going to do is I was going to compile this book and call it maybe integration, which is really about integrating your life. um but it's not really going to be a book. So you know how I shared like the way I set up my planner and everything. You know, so I was going to take some of the techniques from like that getting things done GDT system, and like the way I set up my plan, some of the NLP like smart goal settings. And basically it would be like a planner that you're purchasing with every day is usable pages, but in between it's going to be exercises that you're doing, and then there's going to be like daily exercises in order to achieve this ultimate goal of integrating your entire life. So like my logic, for example, like, you know, I'm huge into fitness, which there's like 4 categories, right? Health, wealth, relationships and family, personal development, and spirituality. So the way I see it, you know, it's like, you know, if my woman is into fitness, that integrates with my life. And if my woman also helps me with my business and is into fitness, then that makes my life 100 or at least 10, 3 times easier, because now I'm killing those 3 birds with one stone. So the whole logic of that is, as you're going through it, not only is it serving as a daily planner, and you can completely ignore the self-help stuff, or you can go along with it, and it's going to basically have daily exercises and, you know, help you refine your goals. Like, well, what do you want out of our relationships? What do you want out of your health, your wealth, you know? So it helps you, you know, just have a solid picture and develop this like ideal integrated life. And it's almost just like a breakdown of it too, you know, maybe like a 3 month thing, you know. I don't know how long these little planners last for. Some of them might be a year, some of them
Yeah.
might be, you know, whatever, but I'm thinking like 200 to maybe 200 pages
Mhm.
of book mixed. So it's going to be a very short book mixed in with a lot of like exercise pages, and like you have to do your weekly goals and your monthly goals and your like yearly goal. So just basically everything that you should be doing. It
Yeah.
forces you to remind yourself, but it also, you know, tries to get you, guide you into having a more complete life,
Mhm.
which is, you know, what I've seen cause a lot of stress within people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always working on that, trying to improve. There's always improvement. There's always like developing, like, okay, how do I integrate properly? Because life is just about integration. There's not like a necessarily a balance. It's just an integration of different parts of your life, and how do they all go together?
Mhm.
And it just, I do I do think there's definitely a lot of people in that space, but at the same time, there's a lot of demand and a lot of need for it even. So um, I think a big part of that type of thing is convincing people or telling people and explaining to them why they should do that. Why do they need your system
Mhm.
or your planner? How would it help them? What are the show them the results, which you can do. That's just sales or
Yeah,
and
yeah.
explaining.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, yeah, obviously it's gonna have to have its own marketing campaign behind it, but I figured my logic for it, it's a quick service, digital service that I can offer mixed in with a product. So what I
Mhm.
was thinking, I can have it virtually, for, I don't know, $15 or something, whatever, or $20, something simple, whatever
Yeah.
audio or PDF books cost online. Or even $5, I don't care, and then have like a free downloadable version of it, and then have like a, if you want the digital version of it, it could be like $10, 5, $10 or something. But then if you want like the real version of it, I would want to print it out in like, this kind of paper, so it looks like a planner. And really, you go out and you can pay like 30, $40 for a moleskin planner with like nothing in there,
Mhm.
or you can go literally buy it for strictly the planner for that same price on a, like you could do published on Amazon type of thing. So that's my
Mhm.
logic. It's like if you get absolutely nothing out of it, it's just a great planner that encapsulates a lot of things that I feel are missing from just printed paper
Yeah.
planners.
Yeah. Well, that kind of a thing is, it's something that even if you were, whether you decide to work on that and make that like a focus to creating this thing, or you set one day, let's say one day a week, you work on that, you spend a couple hours a week or something, and this is something you could develop over time,
Well,
and it's something you're developing already throughout your life because you are doing this every day. So you just need to put that into something and create a product out of it. So
yeah,
I think
so
you're
I guess that the thing, I've been kind of brainstorming this other book called Charm that was the original intent for this, but I thought about it. I'm like, those could be two separate projects. So right now I have about an 11,000 Word document that's already done. So
yeah.
I just have to like edit it and dump it out and feel good about it. Um, so that's kind of why I had that idea. I was like, I've been procrastinating on this, where it's like I could dump this out really quick, like within a couple weeks,
Mhm.
um, and then just get it put out and then run some ads and have that as like a side thing that I don't really have to be, constantly feeding.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think if you have a good idea for a book or something like that, like you said, you've already written it, so uh, do it. I think it's an excellent source of, for one, income, but also it's just the satisfaction. Like I think it would be very, just, it would feel good. It's just awesome to have a product and that people are buying this book, and it's just like uh,
yeah,
so it's something that, and also work on it to try to get it to be as good as you can, and you can work with various like editors and such,
mhm,
but then you could revise it or
yeah,
change the name of it into a different, like, okay, I've revised so much that it's actually a different book now, so I changed the name of it and put it out again.
the Twilight
So
series.
yeah. Tweak a little bit and then put it out again. Keep
Star
yeah.
Wars 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think you're right. Since I have most of it done, I might just pump it out real quick and yeah, maybe send out some copies, because I was thinking like worst case, it's like it's something that I literally need. Like I wish this existed in print for me.
Yeah,
I
so
would,
do it for yourself.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I could publish it and post it on Amazon, like I would be my own buyer.
Especially now with published by Amazon,
Yeah.
you can you don't need the investment now is so much smaller. Like I don't really know so much about the publishing industry, but I just imagine that books in the past have been super expensive to bring to market just because
MOQ.
the investment, yeah, MOQs are just really, you have to order, your minimum order quantity just has to be high in order for it to even make sense. But if Amazon's printing based on demand, your cost comes way down, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I think that would be pretty cool. It'd
that's
be cool to be able to go on Amazon and buy your own thing, or just just to say,
completely like a
I'm actually going to buy it. Just go through the whole process of buying one just because you
sell-
can, and just to say that like you bought your own book like that. I think that's pretty
ship it
cool.
to all your family and just like a picture of you flipping them off or something like I'm successful now. Even though it's just like self-printed. I'm a
And
best-selling
like
author.
I have a friend who he has a book that's he actually has 2 books now that he's printed on, just doing just that, published by Amazon.
Mhm.
And yeah, maybe he didn't do any marketing, maybe didn't sell very many, sells a couple of them every once in a while, but it's just the satisfaction of knowing
Yeah,
that he has a published book for
you
sale.
went through that whole
It's
process, and
great. Yeah.
that's kind of what it is for me too. I also went into this thing called like I forgot what the name of it. It was something self-publishing, best-selling author, or something, something, where they were basically, it was like a seminar where they were going to teach you how to make your book like a bestseller. So what they were saying, it's like you post it and then you do like a press release a couple of days before, and then you start running ads, and then you like sell it for like $1 to a bunch of people and try to get as many reviews as you can. So I'm gonna have to like sit down and study that once I actually publish it, and just see what happens and go from there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So another, now I'm veering off onto another topic. um, so Monday, I'm doing a conference it's called a Machine Shop Ownership Change Conference.
oh,
So that's, I'm kind of excited for that. So basically what I've been trying to look for a while is I've been trying to buy a machine, or I want to buy a machine shop or
mhm.
something, and gonna probably starting with a smaller one so that I can kind of I don't want to go into a $1.5 million shop, and yeah, this is my first time ever managing a shop. Let's do this thing, and I'm confident that I could figure it out, but also there'd be a steep learning curve. So
Yeah, the in
I'm
between.
doing the conference. They're actually teaching. They're more for the sellers. They're teaching people how to scale their business
Hmm.
and how to scale and improve their machine shop, and so that it's ready to sell. So I'm thinking like I want to learn how to do that before I even buy one.
Yeah,
And it's also kind of for buyers, but it's mostly for sellers. So they can learn how to buy one. I can learn what it takes to scale it and to make a company more valuable, because they're saying 2 to 3 times the value in 3 years, or in 3 years or something like that. So like, okay, cool. Yeah, I want to I want to learn how to do this.
yeah, because see that's what I'm trying to do for the machine shop that I partnered. So I'd be curious. Maybe we could make next week's call about what you learn.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah, we can do that. So it's actually they'll have some materials for me, some homework and that kind of stuff. So it's just a 4 hour. It's not super long, but these people are some pretty high level um, guys in there. One of them runs the host of the whole thing. He runs a software for machine shops. So it's like an ERP system. So for enterprise resource planning
Mhm.
and something like that. I think that's what it stands for.
Yeah, for the inventory type of stuff.
Basically, yeah, keeps track of inventory. But it's specifically made for machine shops, and
Mm.
he has actually built it and then sold a 75-person shop. And then there's a bunch of other guys in similar type of roles and titles of
Mhm.
machine shop owners and such. So I'm excited to learn more about that, and just to like what I've been doing for a long time is gathering information, because there's so much information. It's definitely at some point you need to execute, but
Yeah.
um, there are things that need to happen before that, just in life in general. But um, yeah, so I'm excited to keep learning it. If I can't execute just yet for whatever reason, if there's some obstacles in the way, I'm going to work on those obstacles, but also at the same time, I'm going to continue to learn. So
No, I completely agree, because like right now, for example, I've been having issues growing the business for the machining partners. So the overall the aerospace industry that I was focusing on, like fixturing and all of that, in general, the aero is slow. So a lot of these projects are like, well, we're on hold, we're waiting for our customers. Um, so I was just thinking, when you're saying that, I try to put myself in the mindset of like, what if I was the owner of this shop that I'm partnered with? What would I be doing in this situation? And my first thought is, well, I went through and I looked at all of the competitors and saw what their customers were, what they were focusing on, what industries. But other than that, probably pivoting to another industry. Another way I was thinking was coming up with the product that you can manufacture in-house, but then it's like, well, what's the product that's going to take off? I guess what would be your take on it, before you've taken this meeting?
So my what I'm looking for, in my mind right now, the ideal thing that I'm looking for in a shop is I want to find something small that's maybe it has a few jobs already. It's already producing something. Maybe it only has one or two customers,
Hmm.
but it's pulling in 20 grand a year or something like that, right? So it's weekend after work and weekend type work.
Yeah.
It's something that I can, in that way, what I can do, I have experience with machining. I'm maybe 7 years of experience in machining or something like that. So um, I would want to learn, but I not so much not owning a shop and not just completely actually like I kind of like I was a supervisor, but yeah, you only learn so much in that role. So I want to get a small shop and then bring in my own product. So create a project and then bring it into the product into the shop and integrate that into the currently existing work that's already doing and
Hmm.
then build that up. And that way I can go through the process of building a shop up and plan on like really focus on scaling the business up to a full-time job, up to 100 grand a year, from 20 grand, go up to 100 grand the next year, and up to like just go like just really work on building it up. But
Hmm.
start with like start with a smaller shop. And that's what I'm looking for. And it does limit what shops I can that are even within my reach or
Hmm.
that fit within that scope, because a lot of shops that I see, they're selling for around, it's 500 to $1 million, maybe, a million plus. Of course, there's plenty over a million plus, but there's a lot of shops kind of in that range.
Hmm.
And it's, largely because of uh, the FF&E, so the fixtures, the just the equipment that a shop takes to run can be a lot of money.
Yeah.
So but if I can, really been talking, I've actually found a few shops that I've been talking to, but it's kind of a slow process. It can be, especially when I'm talking to people who have never advertised their shop for sale, not actually for sale, but I'm trying to
Hmm.
convince them that it is. So,
I see for those, a lot of these old people want to retire, and that's
mhm,
most of the ones for sale. Like I know for like, I mean, the guy that I'm partnered with at one point, he kind of proposed like, hey, let me retire and you take over and
mhm,
just send me like X amount of money each month so I can travel.
mhm.
And he's basically kind of like handing it over. So I'm sure, if you develop the relationship with one of these guys, do that grandson kind of sales pitch relationship, take that role, where maybe he sees you as like his grandson that never took over the shop.
Mhm. And actually, that's so true, because I've got a couple of guys like that, and I'm working my way into that. That is exactly what it takes, and especially with some of these guys, they've worked in their business for years, and they're not like they're ready to retire, but they're not ready to let their business go.
Yeah, and their children don't want to do it.
Mhm. And a lot of them, that's exactly it. A lot of them, their kids, they don't want to take over, so they're like, well, what do I do? I don't want to let my baby go, but
Mhm.
what do I do? So there's actually, I mean, a huge portion of machine shops are actually owned by baby boomers.
Yeah,
So
most of them.
they're retiring the next, if you give it 10 years, and pretty much all of those guys are going to be retired.
Mhm.
So those shops got to go somewhere. A lot of them unfortunately do get liquidated, so I want to be in a position where I can start picking those up.
I was gonna say, I would want to be in a position where I can just eat them and,
Mhm.
just take on the machinery, take on the jobs and just
Mhm.
consolidate as areas of
Roll it all up. Either roll it, either do a roll up and roll them into one, or keep them as separate. Maybe there's one here. Maybe you have one in a different state. You have different places,
depending what
but
makes sense.
you're buying machines, you're buying customers, and it's not completely selfish though. It's keeping manufacturing in the U.S. and
Yeah,
keeping manufacturing alive. So partially maybe it is a little, you're greedy, but
I
it's
agree.
not. It's really not, because I mean,
You're
you're
buying
picking up your.
you're buying these businesses to grow them,
Mhm.
to help these people, to create more jobs for people.
Yeah,
And
it
then
is.
later a big conglomerate will come and like once you start being enough of a competition and then buy you out, and then their life's gonna be miserable because bank owned companies are horrible to work for.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at. Start with one, start
It's gonna be
small.
a nice few years for the employees till the bank buys you out. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of all I had for today. Do you have anything else?
No, nope. Yeah, I just wanted to, that was kind of a random point bringing up that machine shop after from books. There was no segue. I jumped right into it. I don't know,
No, but
but
that was
I
a
wanted to bring it up because I was like, oh, it just popped into my mind. This
by
is
the
what
way,
I've been thinking about.
I wanted to throw this out there too. We won podcast of the week for Bcast. I'm not sure what that means, but we won it. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and check out designKitchen.org and have a great rest of your day and week.